Hello everyone, this is The Walking Virus, and welcome to Should You Play, a series where I invest the time into a game so that should it suck, you don't have to. Today we are talking about Wildstar, a game that came out roughly about a year ago. It was a very interesting take on the MMO genre at the time, one that I personally really enjoyed, and even better, it just recently went free to play. So, let's hop right into the character customization to show a bit of that. So, first off, you'll see that there are three different options here. Novice, which is more if you have never played an MMO ever, which most people will not be needing that one. New to Wildstar is probably the one that I would recommend most people start off with. This gives you a rough breakdown of all the different systems that Wildstar has, such as the interrupt system and the telegraph system, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the video. Then Veteran is if you've played a ton of MMOs. This one will just get you right down onto the ground at level 3, kind of skip all the tutorial nonsense. So let's move right along here. We've got the two factions. There is the Dominion and the Exiles. 4 races for each different subs-faction. The only real difference for this is that the classes you can pick. That's it. There is no racial power, nothing like that. So let's hop on to the humans so we can take a look at all the different classes. You've got a total of 6 classes. There's the Engineer, the Esper, the Medic, the Spellslinger, which is like a space cowboy, Stalker, and Warrior. Now, this doesn't seem like an awful lot of classes at first, but as you may or may not have noticed, every single class has a double option as far as what they can do for dungeons or raiding. So the Warrior can be a tank or a melee DPS. Not untypical. The Stalker, which is a very interesting one to me, is a rogue that can tank or DPS. The Engineer can tank or DPS, Espers can heal or DPS, Medics can heal or DPS, and Spellslingers can heal or DPS. Very interesting stuff there. Now let's move on to the path system. This is a subclass that just unlocks different challenges in the open world for your character. The Explorer is more for the people who really like jumping puzzles, just filling out the entire section of the map. All that fun stuff. Now the Scientist is more for you lore gatherers. There is quite a bit of lore going on in this game. There's data cubes that you can find that actually have pre-recorded voiceovers detailing some backstory, which is really nice, as well as it can unlock some side areas that only scientists have access to. The Settlers are buff machines. They make buff stations for like health buffs, damage buffs, move speed buffs. They can make shops in areas so you can just sell stuff while you're out and about. And then the Soldier is more typical MMO stuff where you just go to a beacon and fight wave upon wave of enemy. Helps upgrade your class that way as well. So let's hop into the world here. That is one thing that's a little bad about the game right now. It's hard to tell if it's just because of the lag problems that the game's been having, but the load times can be a bit atrocious. So, we're loading up here. This is the housing system that you actually unlock at level 14. It's just your own little plot of land that you can put different buff areas on, so you can have like a farm to grow different plants so you can help with cooking. You can get a resource material for your chosen trade skill, so you can just come here and mine these whenever they spawn. There's little challenge missions that you can put on there to help earn points to gain like items, stuff like that. And then as you're traversing through the world and completing quests, you'll find decoration items such as this ship here. Now, most of the time, in most things that have had decoration, you can, rotate it, maybe select where to place it. Wildstar, you can actually adjust the size, all the way to make it almost as big as your house, all the way down to being small enough to fit onto a table, as well as being able to rotate it any so way that you choose. Front, back, left, right. Doesn't really matter, you can do just about anything with it. Cancel that out. But now let's head out into the open world to discuss a little bit more about the combat, so I can show that off and give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. Now, as I was discussing earlier, the telegraph system is a very, very interesting part of this game, and is actually one of the things that made it very interesting when it first came out. So let's find an enemy to showcase this off. Perfect. So right there is an example of the telegraphing. You can see where my attack will be going, where the entire AoE is. The red right there, you can tell where the enemy is going to be attacking, and you can actually avoid a good portion of the damage. As well as if you interrupt the enemies while they are doing a cast like that, you can do increased damage simply from timing the knockdown. Now this becomes very, very important in dungeons and raids because you can knock down the boss with enough coordination to prevent a lot of damage coming your way. Now let's take a look at the action bar. The one thing to note is you will never have more than 8 skills at any given time. They do limit it to that, but it lets you customize it rather interestingly, because as you level up, you actually unlock specialty points for the skills that you can replace however you see fit, whenever you see fit. And at the 4th and 8th tiers, which come a bit later on, they actually add in extra features to the skills. So, for example, this concentrated blade here normally charges 1 of them per 12 seconds. At the 4th tier, it's 2 per 12 seconds. And at the last tier, you can have 3 of them, and they are 3 per 12 seconds. So you get to replenish those a lot more frequently. The amp system is very similar to tech trees and talent trees from other MMOs. Has a progressive scaling system that you can go into. It does break it down into roughly what all the different aspects would be, which is very nice. Another neat feature is you can have 2 action sets at any given time. The amps are entirely separate. You can swap between those whenever you feel like. Now, let us talk about some of the PvE aspects, aka dungeons. Now, they split their dungeons up into 3 separate subsections. They have the expeditions, which are more like one-off stories that you can do either by yourself or with a group of people. There are the adventures, which are more like a choose-your-own-adventure type dungeon where you go in, and I want to say there's about 3 or 4 different phases in most of them. You choose which of the 3 you want to go through for the first section, then it'll have another selection of 3 for the next section, and so on and so forth. So you can play them quite a few times and it'll be different each time. Now, this is a good thing because it helps keep the adventure fresh, it helps keep you guessing what you have to do. The downfall to this is that if you're looking to farm a specific boss, not necessarily everyone is going to vote the same way that you do, so unless you're going with a group of people specifically looking for that boss, you may not get it and you may have to do more. Luckily, the reward system for the dungeons is fairly good, depending on how well you do in it. Now, dungeons are pretty typical. It's the 5 people go in, there's a multitude of bosses, so on and so forth. The one interesting exception to this is the first dungeon that you unlock at level 10, this Proto Games Academy. It is a tutorial dungeon. It is something that I have not seen any other MMO do. It is new to the free-to-play, and it does a very good job of teaching you how dungeons work. They actually break down how to do the interrupt system, how important it is to read those telegraphs and approach a safe area when those telegraphs are going, or interrupt when applicable. Now, you're thinking, well, you know, most of us have done dungeons, we could probably figure this out, it's not much different than that, but I want you to really think about whenever you have pugged in a group in an MMO, and how many completely brain-dead people there are, and how this probably would have helped them to be a bit less brain-dead. It's brilliant, and I think every single other MMO needs to learn on this and actually implement it in some fashion. Now, with that being said, let's talk about some of the problems of the game. Now, the biggest problem, of course, as I said, was the lag issues and the realm issues that this game has been having since initial launch. They have been getting better, so those should hopefully be taken care of in the relative near future. The other thing is the free-to-play aspect can be a bit troublesome if you are a multi-character person, because for the free-to-play characters, you only get access to 2 characters. You can, of course, pay money to unlock more character slots, you can activate the subscription to gain more character slots, and so on and so forth. The other problem with the free-to-play is that if you wanted to create a guild, you cannot do that until you have either paid to unlock that service, or if you become a subscriber, you can actually unlock that service and proceed from there. But just because you are free to play does not exclude you from being in a guild in the first place. You can still be invited into a guild in the free to play model, so it's not as bad as it could be. Well, with all that said, guys, that is Wildstar. Do I think you should play it? I would say yes, with a big asterisk next to it, in the sense that I would wait another week or so until these lag problems get fixed. As I said, they have been working on it, and it seems to be getting better each and every day, but they are still not 100%. There are still lag problems occurring every now and again. So if that's something that's going to drive you away, give it another week and they should be done. Carbine has been doing pretty good. But yeah, so if you guys have any comments that you'd like to share, if you want to discuss this further, leave a comment in the sections below. And if you have any ideas on any other games you would like to see me do, sound off in the comments. Hopefully you like and subscribe, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.